What's up, my dudes? 2024 Detroit Supercross track review on MX Simulator. So, I do think that this is the smallest scaling track that they've made this year so far when you compare it to the other 4 rounds. And I know when I first got on this track in qualifying, I remember thinking in my head like, oh, this track's kind of more on that easy side. Like there's not really that many places to separate yourself on the jump. And then I discovered this Mac Daddy Fatty. I discovered this little jewel like last qualifying session. That is one of the most fun jumps. Those 2 jumps together. The quad in and then the 5 or whatever it is into the corner. That is some of the most fun shit that I have ever hit on any RF Supercross track ever. So that one section, that one rhythm lane right there, I feel like really saved this track. Yeah, there's some other spots on the track, like even this little jump right here, I got a little squirrely on that in the, the heat race. There's a little bit of challenge to it, you know. Even on some of the smaller jumps on this track, it does kind of have a little bit of that technicality to it, even though it's smaller scaling, you know what I'm saying? But I do think overall it is a little bit easier to get around this track, especially if you're on a 250, like this rhythm right here, like this quad right here. You could probably hit on a 125 in the game, which is quite a bit different from the 2 big quads that you had on Anaheim 2 from last week. Even this big quad in rhythm that you have over here, see, it's actually challenging in an entirely different way. This quad is challenging because you got to get all the speed around the corner up to it. It's not like one of those quads where you're hitting it at the end of the rhythm, like into the corner. That's like a quad where you've got to go from 0 to 100 real quick out of the corner to even be able to get the right amount of speed to be able to hit it. You know what I'm saying? So, but that quad's so much fun to hit, bro. It saves you about a second on the track. Super challenging, technical. Some people that are saying that quad's like absolutely nothing to hit. I mean, the thing about it is yeah, when there's no erode on the track, it's fairly easy to hit. But I feel like that makes a quad jump actually more challenging whenever it's right at that point where it's like hittable every lap, because then it makes it where you need to hit it every lap, right? If it's to that point where it's just like super extremely difficult where you're only ever gonna hit it in qualifying, well then it becomes where you just don't even really hit it in the race, so then who gives a shit about how difficult it was, right? Whereas this quad in on this track is right to that point where I still feel like the top guys would go for it in the main event. You could catch back up with it if you got a bad start. So it's right at that difficulty level where you could still go for it on a bunch of different laps, and the erode would just make it more difficult, which makes it really difficult. Do you see what I'm saying? So anyways, the whoops are decently sized, but it's like the past few tracks that they've had where when the whoops get wore down with the erode, they become way easier. I think they've been working on that a little bit. These whoops did feel a little bit different. Maybe they got a little more challenging, but they got easier before they got harder, if that makes any sense. You know, they got wore down before they got like kickery. Do you know what I'm saying? But yeah, man, overall, like, for it being more of that smaller scaling style on the jumps and stuff, I thought they did a pretty good job with this track right here. I still think it's kind of keeping that 2024, the track still feels like a pro track when you add everything together. You add the whoop size, the big quad in 5 rhythm, you know, you add all of that together and it gives it, you know, some level of skill gap. You got decent berms going on here. this whole rhythm right here, it seems really small, like you're only really hitting like a triple in, but trying to hit this corner and like get up over this little single and still hit this, especially when it gets a little bit eroded, that's when it becomes a little tricky there, because you're trying not to over jump into the face of this triple jump face. So even though it's just like kind of a simple little rhythm, like a double, triple, triple into the corner, it does have, like I'm saying, it does have a certain technicality to it. And then being able to hit this quad in, and then I guess that's just a quad into the corner, right? So it's quad, 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 bro. But then being able to carry all that speed around, a lot of time can be made up or lost right there. So at the end of the day, if this is going to be how they make their more smaller scaling, you know, style tracks in the game, I'm good with it, because it still has a, you know, a certain level of challenge to it, has a certain level of difficulty. The Supercross triple was a little small, I feel like, compared to some of the previous rounds, maybe. But yeah, it's just all about having that overall difficulty on the track. Now, if this rhythm right here just wouldn't have been hittable for whatever reason, it would have took a lot of the skill gap out of the track. Let's not play and pretend here, you know. If this would have been a 2019, 2020 RF Supercross track, the whoops would have been rolled off, the berms would have been rolled off, and you wouldn't have been able to hit that big quad rhythm. So, you know, it seems as if even though RF is, you know, making a smaller scaling track here, they still have that, let's have separating rhythms on the track. Let's have difficult whoops and rhythm lines on the track that only the top 450 guys are going to really be hitting hard. You know, they still have that key element to the track, which is the most important shit. I don't care how you make the scaling, as long as you got those separator rhythms and you got the whoops big enough, that's really all you need. I mean, it's crazy how that's, at the end of the day, that's really all you need. But yeah, I know some guys were talking in the, you know, they're always talking about the Spency Boy and in the live streams of these pro races. Y'all boys are keeping my name alive, bro. I mean, shit, y'all just won't let my name die. It's crazy. Y'all just keep talking about me in those live streams. Please keep talking about me, dude. Bro, I could die and y'all boys keep talking about me for the next 20 years. It's crazy, man. So, but, yeah, you know, obviously they gotta say things like, Spencer's gonna blame the track. He's gonna hate on the track for him doing bad in the race, and like I've ever done that before. That's kind of weird. But no, don't get it twisted. I am down for these 2024 RF Supercross tracks. I don't care how much of a hater you want to try to claim me, or, you know, they want to act like I'm still talking about the tracks like they're the 2019 Supercross tracks. We're in 2024 now, boys. RF has now started to make their tracks way the fuck better than they were back then. Again, me being the real talker, I'm going to talk about how shitty them 2019, 2020, 21, 2022 tracks were. That still holds true to this day. But now that they're doing the shit right, giving you skill-gapped rhythms, skill-gapped whoops, now everything's changed. Now I can come in here and actually be positive about this shit. It's like some of y'all boys just expected me to lie about it back in the day to protect the precious RF and the precious Erode system. Oh yeah, I was just supposed to lie about all that and act like them 2019 tracks were so good and act like 2022 Oakland was so good. No, I'm not gonna fucking lie about it. So either way, man, if you've been gone from MX Simulator for a certain period of time, I'm telling you, bro, these 2024 RF Supercross tracks, they're worth coming back to the game for, bro. I'm not gonna lie to you, you know. I'm just telling you, it's worth coming back to the game just to try out these 2024 Supercross tracks. And I think these 2024 outdoor tracks are going to be the same way, because last year they started doing more pre-made, you know, and even the Supercross tracks from last year, they started getting the bigger rhythms and stuff back It's been a slow progression, but I feel like they're finally starting to dig themselves out of that hole that they were in. You know, there's finally starting to see a little bit of light at the end of the tunnel with these RF Pro tracks again. So if you haven't played these tracks in a while, you know, you hadn't played the game, you hadn't been involved in the game in a while, I'm telling you right now, Spency Boy, certified seal of approval, it's a good time to come back. It's a good time to get back into the game. Really good time for that. Everything's getting better on these tracks. So either way, man, appreciate you guys watching all the videos. I'll see y'all boys in that next one. Later, dudes.